The banquet manager found me by the coat room. She looked flustered and apologetic. "Sir, I was told to seat you with the catering staff tonight. The groom's mother arranged it. But sir, I have the master file for this venue, and your name is on it as the owner. I don't understand. Should I move you to the head table?" I looked at her kindly. My own granddaughter's new in-laws had just seated me with the help, and not one of them knew I owned the ground they were dancing on. Welcome back to the forgotten parent. Grab your coffee, get comfortable, and remember the people in these stories had every chance to do right by the ones who raised them. They just chose wrong. Drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. You're going to want to stay till the end. My name is Gideon Price. I am 73 years old. I live in the hills outside Sonoma, California. I wear a plain suit that has seen 20 years of weddings and funerals. I drive a dusty pickup. My hands are stained from the vines. People look at me and see an old farmhand who wandered in from the fields. That suits me fine. I have spent a lifetime being the man nobody bothers to notice. But those vines are mine. All of them. 40 years ago I bought a failing patch of dirt nobody wanted. I planted it by hand. I learned the soil like a language. Slowly, season by season, I built a vineyard. Then a second one. Then the beautiful stone estate where weddings are held now. The one with the long oak tables and the string lights over the terrace. Price Family Estates. My name is on every deed. But you would never guess it from my dusty boots. Let me tell you how it started. It was 1983. I was a farm worker. I had strong hands and no money. There was a hillside going cheap. The soil was rocky. Everyone said grapes would never grow there. I saw it differently. I saw the way the fog rolled in at dawn. I saw the slope catching the afternoon sun. Rosa and I bought it with everything we had. We lived in a shack that first year. We had no heat. We had each other. I planted the first vines by hand. Rosa carried water up the hill in buckets. Our backs ached every night. We ate beans and dreamed out loud. One day, Rosa would say, "Brides will get married here. I'll build gardens they'll never forget." I laughed at her then, a dirt hill and a dream. But Rosa saw the future clear as day. She always did. Every rose she planted was a promise, and every promise came true. The first harvest nearly failed. The second one broke even. By the 10th year, people were driving out to buy our wine. By the 20th, we built the stone estate. Rosa designed every inch of it. The terrace, the oak tables, the gardens. She poured her whole heart into that land. When she got sick, she made me promise to keep it exactly as she left it. I have kept that promise. Every string light hangs where Rosa wanted it. That is why what happened at that wedding cut so deep. A stranger tried to claim my Rosa's heart as her own. I did it all with my late wife Rosa. She had a gift for making things beautiful. I grew the grapes. She built the gardens where brides now take their photos. We raised one daughter, Elena, in a small farmhouse on the property. Rosa passed 6 years ago, in the spring, among her roses. I kept every part of the estate exactly as she designed it. When brides walk through Rosa's gardens, they are walking through my wife's heart. Not one of them knows it. That is fine. Beauty does not need a nameplate. My granddaughter is named Sophia. She is Elena's girl. She is the light of my life. When Sophia got engaged, I was overjoyed. She was marrying a young man named Preston from the Ashford family. The Ashfords are new money, loud money, the kind that arrives in a town and immediately wants everyone to know it. I had my doubts about Preston's people. But Sophia loved him, so I kept my doubts to myself, and I opened my heart. Here is what Sophia did not know, and what I asked her mother to keep secret. I paid for the entire wedding. Quietly, I told Elena to tell everyone the Ashfords were covering it, or that it was a package deal. I did not want Sophia to feel she owed me anything, and I hosted it at my own flagship estate, the beautiful one, at no charge. To the Ashfords, it looked like the venue was simply booked. They had no idea the dusty old man they would meet was the owner. I wanted it that way. I wanted to see their true faces first. Why the secret? Let me explain. I have watched money ruin people my whole life. I have seen it turn sweet children into greedy strangers. I did not want Sophia to marry into a family that only valued her because of what I owned. If the Ashfords were kind to a poor gardener, they were good people. If they were cruel to him, they would show me exactly who they were before my granddaughter tied herself to them forever. It was a test, not a trap. A test. And I had every right to know who my Sophia was joining her life to. Rosa taught me this. Never show a man your full hand, Gideon, she would say, until you know what he'll do with a weak one. She was talking about business, but it works for people too. Show the world you have nothing, and the world tells you the truth about itself. The kind stay kind. The cruel show their claws. I have used this test my whole life. It has never once failed me. It did not fail me at that wedding either. Bitsy Ashford showed me her whole hand. And it was empty. The Ashfords took over the planning immediately. Preston's mother, Bitsy Ashford, appointed herself queen of the whole affair. She had opinions about everything. The flowers were not grand enough. The wine list, my wine was quaint. She wanted valets and a champagne tower and a guest list full of people she wanted to impress. I watched it all quietly. I paid for all of it quietly. And I noticed how she treated the staff, how she treated anyone she thought was beneath her. That tells you everything about a person. The first time I met Bitsy Ashford, she looked me up and down. My plain suit, my work-worn hands, my dusty truck in the lot. She did not offer her hand. She turned to Elena and said, right in front of me, "Is this the gardener? Have him move his truck. It's blocking the nice cars." I was the man paying for her son's entire wedding, and she called me the gardener and told me to move my truck. I just smiled and moved it. Rosa would have laughed. "Let them show you who they are, Gideon," she always said. Then believe them. It got worse as the wedding approached. Bitsy made it clear that Sophia's side of the family, our side, the quiet farming side, was an embarrassment to be managed. She seated Elena far from the head table. She forgot to include me in the family photos. She told the planner that the bride's grandfather is a simple man. He'll be more comfortable with the caterers. She was ashamed of us, ashamed of the people whose land and money were making her son's fairy tale possible. And she did not even know it. There were a dozen small cruelties. She rejected my wine for the toast. She wanted a real label, an imported one. My wine has won awards. She poured it down the sink. She redecorated Rosa's terrace with rented gold furniture. She covered my wife's garden beds with her own arrangements. She called the whole estate charming, in a country way. Each word was a small knife. I said nothing. I filed each one away. She was worst to the staff. I watched her snap at Teresa, my banquet manager of 15 years. I watched her humiliate a young waitress over a water glass. I watched her wave off Marcus the valet like he was a stray dog. You learn everything about a person by how they treat those who cannot fight back. Bitsy Ashford failed that test 100 times before the wedding even started. I was watching. I am always watching. One evening, a week before the wedding, I overheard her on the terrace. She was talking to a friend on the phone. "The bride's family are peasants, darling. Vineyard laborers. But the venue's gorgeous. So we're making it work. I've hidden the grandfather with the caterers, so he doesn't embarrass Preston in the photos." Then she laughed. That laugh. I stood in the dark among Rosa's roses and listened to a woman call me a peasant on my own terrace. And I made a quiet decision. I would give her exactly the wedding she was building. Right up until the toast. Something in my chest went very still. Not hurt. I am too old to be hurt by a woman like Bitsy Ashford. It was that cold, clear feeling I get when a decision settles into place. I could have stopped it all with one sentence. I could have said, "Madam, this is my estate, and I am paying for this wedding." But I did not, because I wanted to see how far she would go, and because the best lessons are the ones a person teaches themselves when they think no one important is watching. My daughter Elena begged me to speak up. The night before the wedding, she came to my farmhouse in tears. "Papa, they're treating you like a servant. Please, just tell them who you are." I held my daughter's hands. "Elena," I said, "if I tell them now, they'll only pretend to respect me. I don't want a mask. I want to see the real face." Trust your old papa. Rosa taught me patience among the vines. A grape picked too early is sour. So is a lesson. Elena did not understand, but she trusted me. She always has. I almost broke my own rule once. At the rehearsal dinner, Bitsy made Sophia cry. She criticized my granddaughter's dress in front of everyone. She said it looked homemade. It was homemade. Rosa's old friend had sewn it, with love. When I saw the tears on Sophia's face, I nearly stood up and ended it all right there. My hand gripped the table. But Sophia caught my eye. She shook her head, just slightly. My brave girl did not want me to make a scene at her wedding, so I waited. For her. One more day, but the account was filling up, and Bitsy kept making deposits. I did not sleep much that last night. I sat among Rosa's roses in the dark. I asked her what to do. The wind moved the leaves, and I swear I heard her answer, the way I always do. "Let her build her tower, Gideon, then hand you the microphone." Rosa always did have a sense of drama. She would have loved what came next. I think she planned it, somehow, from wherever she watches me now. The wedding day arrived. Rosa's gardens were glorious. The oak tables gleamed under the string lights. My granddaughter looked like a dream in white. And the banquet manager, a kind woman named Teresa, who has run my estate for 15 years, came to me by the coat room, confused, holding a seating chart that put the owner of the vineyard at table 9 with the catering staff. That is when I made my decision. "No, Teresa," I told her gently. "Leave me where Mrs. Ashford put me, for now. But do me a favor, when I stand up to give the toast, make sure the microphone is on. If you've made it this far, do us one quick favor. Subscribe. A lot of people watch without ever doing it. But it costs you nothing and means everything to us. Thank you genuinely. Now let me tell you what happens when you seat the owner of the vineyard with the help and then hand him a microphone." So I sat at table 9. I sat with the caterers and the valets and the young woman who ran the coat check. And I will tell you something. They were the finest company at that entire wedding. They were kind. They were funny. They worked hard, and they laughed easily. A young valet named Marcus shared his bread roll with me because he thought I looked hungry. A poor man sharing his only roll with the man who owned the whole estate. I have never been so moved by a piece of bread in my life. I decided right then that Marcus was going to be just fine in this world. I would see to it. We talked, us folks at table 9. Real talk. Teresa told me about her daughter starting college. The coat check girl was studying to be a nurse. One of the caterers had just become a father. These were good people. Working people. The kind of people I came from. The kind of people who built everything the Ashfords take for granted. They did not know I owned the place. They just treated me like one of their own, and that I realized was the highest honor of the whole night. I looked over at the head table now and then. All that gold furniture. All those important people. And nobody there was laughing. Not really. They were performing. They were watching each other, measuring, competing, at table 9. We were just living. There was more genuine joy at the caterer's table than at the grandest seats in the house. Rosa used to say wealth is not what you have, it is how easily you can laugh. By that measure, table 9 was the richest table in California. Across the room, at the head table, Bitsy Ashford held court. She gave a long speech about how the Ashford family had made this beautiful day possible. She thanked herself. Mostly, she gestured grandly at Rosa's gardens as if she had grown them. She called the estate a venue we simply had to have. She never once mentioned the bride's family. She acted as though Sophia had been rescued from obscurity by marrying into Ashford greatness. I sat at table 9 and let her talk. Give a proud person enough rope, and they will decorate their own downfall. Then Bitsy did something that crossed a line. She raised her glass and said, with a little laugh, "And of course, we're so glad the bride's rustic relations could join us. I believe some of them are seated near the kitchen, where I'm sure they feel right at home." A few of her guests chuckled. My daughter Elena went pale with shame. My granddaughter Sophia, at the head table, looked down at her plate, humiliated on her own wedding day. And that, my friends, was the moment I rose from my chair at table 9. I want to be clear, I did not do it for me. Bitsy could insult me until the cows came home. I did it for Sophia. For Elena. For Rosa, whose gardens were being claimed by a woman who thought roses grew themselves. I picked up my glass. Teresa, bless her, flipped on the microphone. The room turned to see who the old man at the caterer's table thought he was. I smiled. I have a good smile. Rosa always said it was my best feature. "Good evening," I said. "My name is Gideon Price. I'm Sophia's grandfather. Most of you don't know me. Mrs. Ashford has me seated by the kitchen, and I want to thank her, because I've had the best company at this wedding back here." Marcus the valet grinned. "But there's been a small misunderstanding I'd like to clear up, in the spirit of family honesty." I let the pause stretch. Bitsy's smile was frozen on her face. She could feel something coming, the way you feel a storm before the sky changes. "Mrs. Ashford has spoken beautifully tonight about the venue her family simply had to have," I said, "about these lovely gardens. This beautiful estate. So I think you all deserve to know a little more about it." I looked around at Rosa's gardens, at the string lights, at the stone terrace we built with our own hands. This estate is called Price Family Estates. My wife Rosa designed these gardens by hand. I planted these vineyards myself, 40 years ago, one vine at a time. The room had gone very quiet. Bitsy's glass trembled in her hand. "I own it," I said simply. "Every acre, every vine, every table you're sitting at. And the wine Mrs. Ashford called quaint, that's mine too. I grew it." A gasp moved through the crowd. "And one more thing, since we're being honest as a family. This entire wedding, every flower, every course, that champagne tower, the band, all of it was paid for by me. Quietly, as a gift to my granddaughter. The Ashfords didn't pay for a single napkin." Bitsy Ashford's face drained of every ounce of color. The gardener she told to move his truck owned the ground beneath her $300 shoes. I was not finished. I turned toward Rosa's gardens, glowing under the string lights. "You've all admired these gardens tonight. Mrs. Ashford called them her venue. They were designed by my late wife Rosa by hand. Over 30 years. Every rose out there was planted by a woman who is no longer with us." My voice held steady. "So when someone stands in my Rosa's garden, drinks my wine, dances under the lights my wife hung, and calls my family peasants, well, I thought the truth might be a nice wedding gift for everyone." You could have heard a pin drop on the terrace. The Ashford guests stared at their plates. The ones who had chuckled at Bitsy's jokes now could not look at her. Bitsy opened her mouth. No sound came out. She had spent months building a throne of borrowed grandeur. In 30 seconds, it had turned to dust beneath her. And I had not raised my voice once. Rosa always said the loudest thing in any room is a quiet man telling the simple truth. The silence was total. Then, slowly, something wonderful happened. My granddaughter Sophia stood up at the head table. She was crying, but she was smiling. "Grandpa," she said into the quiet, "you did all this?" For me? I nodded. Of course, mija. You're the light of my life. I only wish your grandmother could have seen you in her gardens. Sophia left the head table. She walked all the way across the room, in her wedding dress, past all the Ashford guests, and she sat down next to me at table 9. With the caterers. With the valets. With her grandfather. And the whole room saw exactly where the bride chose to sit. Now here is where I want you to understand something about the kind of man I am. Bitsy Ashford's crime was not violence. It was pride, snobbery, cruelty of the small, cutting kind. So I did not destroy her. I did not throw the Ashfords out. I did not cancel anything or embarrass Sophia's new husband, who, to his credit, looked mortified by his mother. I simply told the truth, in front of everyone, and let the truth do what truth does. Proportional, a prideful woman was humbled by her own words. That was enough. That was exactly enough. Preston, the groom, did something that raised him in my eyes forever. He stood up, walked to table 9, and shook my hand. "Mr. Price," he said, loud enough for his mother to hear, "I'm so sorry, and I'm honored to marry into your family. The real one." Then he sat down with us, too. His mother sat alone at the grand head table she had built for herself, surrounded by guests who no longer knew where to look. The queen of the wedding abandoned at her own throne. She built that seat. She got to sit in it. The rest of the night was the best wedding I have ever attended. The head table emptied out as people drifted over to the rustic relations by the kitchen, who turned out to be the most interesting company in the room. We drank my quaint wine. We danced under Rose's string lights. Marcus the valet taught my granddaughter a silly dance, and she laughed until she cried. Bitsy left early. Nobody noticed her go. That, I think, was the real lesson. The world does not gather around the grandest chair. It gathers around the warmest table. Bitsy Ashford tried to salvage her pride in the weeks after. She told people I had humiliated her. She spun it as rudeness on my part. But too many people had heard her own words first. The champagne tower speech. The kitchen comment. The gardener remark. A lie only survives until the truth walks in wearing dusty boots. Her version never took. In our valley, she is now known as the woman who insulted the man paying for her son's wedding. She did that to herself. I just turned on a microphone. Bitsy tried to apologize once, months later. It was not a real apology. It was the kind people give when they want something back. She had realized, too late, that being on my bad side in this valley was expensive. I listened politely. Then I told her the only thing worth saying. Bitsy, I forgive you. Truly, but forgiveness and a dinner invitation are two different things. You are welcome at my granddaughter's table any time she invites you. You will not be at mine. She did not understand the difference. People like her never do. Mercy is free. Trust is earned. My granddaughter and Preston are happily married now. Preston, it turned out, is nothing like his mother. He works hard. He is humble. He comes up to the estate on weekends and asks me to teach him about the vines. He wants to understand the land his children will inherit. I am teaching him. A good vineyard, like a good family, is built slowly, with patience, one season at a time. He is learning. I have hope for that young man. Preston asked me once why I forgave his mother so easily. I told him about the vines. A frost comes some years, I said. It kills the weak buds, but the strong roots survive. You don't curse the frost, son, you just tend the roots that made it through. He thought about that for a long while. You're saying my mom was a frost, he said. I smiled. I'm saying you're a strong root, Preston. Now let's go check the north field. He laughed. He is going to be all right. The frost did not get him. I want to tell you more about Marcus, because he matters. After the wedding, I called him into the estate office. The poor young man thought he was in trouble. He stood there twisting his valet cap in his hands. "Marcus," I said, "you shared your only bread roll with a stranger you thought was poor." "Why?" He shrugged. "My grandma raised me. She said you feed people. You don't ask what they can pay." I nearly wept. "Your grandmother," I told him, "raised a rich man. He just doesn't know it yet." I offered him a real job that day. Salary, benefits, a future. He cried right there in the office. He told me he had been sleeping in his car, parking cars by day, sleeping in one by night. The world had overlooked him the same way it overlooked me. But kindness has a long memory. He fed a stranger, and the stranger owned the vineyard. That is not luck. That is how the world is supposed to work, when someone with the means decides to make it so. I gave Marcus the valet a job, by the way, a real one in the estate office, with a future. The young man who shared his only bread roll with a stranger now runs our guest services. He is wonderful at it. He treats every visitor, rich or poor, with the same warmth he showed me at table 9. Because he learned young what Bitsy Ashford never learned at all. You never know who the quiet man in the dusty boots really is. So you had best be kind to everyone. These days, I still walk the vines every morning. I still wear my 20-year-old suit to weddings. I still drive my dusty truck, and yes, I still park it wherever I like, because I own the lot. Brides still walk through Rosa's gardens and think the beauty grew there on its own. Let them think it. Rosa would have loved that. The best beauty never brags. It just blooms, quietly, for anyone with the eyes to see it. Sophia asked me later why I never told her I paid for it all. Why I let her think it was a package deal. I told her the truth. Because a gift with a price tag isn't a gift, mija. It's a debt. I never wanted you to feel you owed me. I wanted you to just be happy. She hugged me for a long time. "Grandpa," she whispered, "you gave me the wedding. But sitting with you at that table was the real gift. I will carry those words to my grave. They are worth more than the whole estate." I think often about the difference between the two families at that wedding. The Ashfords had money, but they were poor in every way that matters. My side had dirt under our nails, but we were rich in the ways you cannot buy. Bitsy sat alone at a grand table. I sat surrounded by love at a humble one. If you ever want to know if you have lived well, do not count your money. Count the people who would cross a room in a wedding dress just to sit beside you. I visit Rosa in the gardens she built. I tell her about the weddings. I told her about Sophia's, about the microphone, about the granddaughter who crossed a whole room to sit with her grandfather. I like to think Rosa laughed her warm laugh. "That's our girl," she would have said. She sat at the right table. I plant new roses every spring in Rosa's beds. I water them at dusk, and every bride who photographs among them carries a little of my Rosa's heart out into the world, without ever knowing whose love they are standing in. People ask me if I regret keeping the secret so long, if I should have spoken up sooner and spared my family the sting. I understand the question, but no, I do not regret it. Because the truth, when it finally came, did more than humble one proud woman. It showed my granddaughter what real family looks like. It showed a whole room of important people where the warmth in this world actually lives. It gave a homeless young valet a future. A secret told too soon would have done none of that. Timing is everything. Rosa taught me that in the vineyard. You do not harvest in July. You wait for the exact right day. Then, everything is sweet. If you like this story, join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing for more real, raw, and family-centered stories. And as always, thank you for being part of this family. And remember this: watch how a person treats the waiter, the valet, the gardener, the ones they think can do nothing for them. That is who they truly are. The grand ones who need everyone below them are small. The quiet ones who are kind to everyone are the ones who actually own the vineyard. Be kind to the man in the dusty boots. You never know whose garden you are standing in.